Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of James and Ashley Schwalm. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the crime, then offer my analysis. James Schwalm was born in the mid-1980s and lived in Collingwood, Ontario, Canada. It appeared as though his family was wealthy. For instance, his mother was an executive in the entertainment industry. James had two younger sisters. After graduating from a Catholic high school near Lawrence Park, James pursued a career as a firefighter. He joined the Brampton Fire and Emergency Services and became the acting captain. James frequently visited a private ski club called the Craig Leith Ski Club, which was 7 miles from Collingwood. There, he met another member of the club named Ashley Milnes, and they became romantically involved. Ashley also appeared to come from wealth. Her family had a chalet in Collingwood. When James and Ashley met, Ashley was starting her own interior design and home staging company. In the early 2010s, the couple bought a house in Collingwood and became engaged. In September 2012, they married at the Craig Leith Ski Club, where they originally met. It was an upscale event. The 4 main halls of the club were decorated as each season. Ashley arrived in a horse-drawn carriage. She would later say that she felt like a princess. After the wedding, the couple settled into a routine. James was promoted to full-time captain and earned $140,000 a year. He also worked part-time at a business that sold and repaired small engines. The couple obtained a dog named Rocco and had a son and a daughter. In 2018, they moved into a different house in Collingwood that was adjacent to a hiking trail. In the summer of 2021, Ashley started working as a project manager for a company that built vacation homes, ski chalets, and custom cottages. Her boss, Steve, was the one who started the company. About 6 months into her employment, Ashley and Steve started having an affair. James learned about the affair in April 2022. Steve's wife, Alexandra, filed for divorce, but James and Ashley wanted to work things out. Ashley left her job and found a new job at a project management firm. The couple started receiving mental health counseling together and individually. People who interacted with James noticed that his mood changed significantly during this time. For example, he appeared to be distant, condescending, and consumed more alcohol than usual. Even though James and Ashley were supposed to be working on their marriage, James told his mother that he wasn't sure the marriage would survive. It appears as though Ashley had the same sense of pessimism. She told her family that she was thinking about leaving James. Ashley made a commitment to prioritize her own health and happiness in 2023. She told a friend that this year was going to be the year of Ashley. On New Year's Day 2023, she sent a text message to her sister indicating that her marriage was all out of love, like the song by Air Supply. Ashley wasn't the only person having feelings that matched Air Supply song titles. James was lost in love and hoping there would be 2 less lonely people in the world. His sweet dreams were not about his wife. She was no longer every woman in the world. Rather, he was saying, "Here I am," to Alexandra, the ex-wife of Ashley's former lover, Steve. James indicated that he had feelings for her. Alexandra said that she felt the same way. James told her that he wanted to be happy regardless of his wife's efforts to fix the marriage, as if his wife was in the business of making love out of nothing at all. Now moving to the timeline of the crime. On January 26, 2023, at 5:45 a.m., an employee of the Alpine Ski Club, which is not far from the Craig Leith Ski Club, called 911. He said that he was driving to work on Arrowhead Road and found an SUV on fire down an embankment. Here is what the police found during the course of their investigation. The SUV was a 2018 Mitsubishi Outlander registered to James. There was a dead body in the passenger side footwell. There were several footprints in the snow going from the driver's door to the road, as if somebody exited the vehicle after it traveled down the embankment. Gas cans were found in the back of the SUV. The police informed James that they discovered a dead body in his Mitsubishi Outlander, and they believed it was his wife. She is the one who normally operated the Outlander. Later, the body was identified as belonging to Ashley. Here is the story that James supplied to the police. That morning, he and Ashley argued because she wanted to go hiking and he wanted to take the dog for a walk. This was a problem because no one would have been available to supervise their children at home. James explained the presence of the gas cans in the SUV, saying that he asked his wife to obtain gasoline for the snowblower. To explain what may have caused the fatality, James mentioned that his wife sent him a text message indicating she had vertigo. Perhaps this led to her driving down the embankment. This theory was supported by some evidence. For instance, Ashley had a disease which caused occasional episodes of vertigo. One time when she was in a grocery store, she collapsed. The problem was there were many other factors pointing in the direction of murder. For example, the Outlander left tire tracks in the snow all the way down the embankment. The tread was visible as if the wheels were rolling. Usually when somebody loses control of a vehicle on a snowy embankment, the marks in the snow are smooth. Ashley's cause of death was neck compression. She was not killed by the fire. Her body was found in the passenger side of the vehicle as if she had not been driving. Footprints leading away from the driver's door back to the road indicated the presence of a second person. And a lighter bearing the initials JWS was found in the Outlander, the same initials possessed by James. On February 2, 2023, James was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. In June 2024, he pleaded guilty to second-degree murder as part of a plea bargain. With the investigation complete and the confession by James, the police now knew exactly what happened. Here is how James killed his wife, Ashley. On January 25, 2023, one day before the discovery of Ashley's body, Ashley took her children to school and then to work. At 7 a.m., James completed an overnight shift at the fire station. He went to Toronto to run some errands before returning to the family home. At some point during that day, he texted his wife and asked her to buy gasoline for the snowblower. In the afternoon, James climbed into his Toyota 4Runner SUV along with his 9-year-old son and his 6-year-old daughter. He dropped his daughter off at her riding lesson and drove to the Alpine Ski Club located on Arrowhead Road. This is about a mile from the Craigleith Ski Club. His son was still in the Toyota at this time. James examined the parking lot for a few minutes before driving to his parents' home. Sometime earlier, James arranged with his mother to borrow her Hyundai Kona. He told her that he planned on taking a long hike the next morning, which would terminate at the Craigleith Ski Club. He wanted to have a vehicle available to him when he finished. His mother agreed to loan him the Kona. James drove to the Craigleith Ski Club and left the vehicle in the parking lot. After this, he picked up his daughter in the Toyota 4Runner, returned to the family home, and his children went to bed. A few hours later, his son woke up after hearing James and Ashley arguing. When he opened the door to his bedroom, he saw his parents in the upstairs hallway. Ashley asked her son to go into her bedroom and retrieve her cell phone, which would allow her to call the police. After her son handed her the phone, James told him to return to bed. No one called 911. At some point after this interaction, James strangled Ashley. At 3 a.m., his son once again exited his bedroom. James was in the mudroom downstairs crying. At 5 a.m., James told his son that he was going to take the dog Rocco for a walk. He put on his coat and walked out the door, but the dog was still in the house. James had dressed Ashley in hiking clothes and put her body into their Mitsubishi Outlander. He sent a text message to Ashley's phone, which read, "Okay, leaving now, see you soon." He replied using Ashley's phone with the message, "Okay, I am going to zip out. I think the kids will be fine there sleeping." James was trying to make it appear as though Ashley was leaving the children unsupervised to go for a hike. James drove the Outlander toward the Alpine Ski Club on Arrowhead Road. Before he arrived, he used Ashley's phone to send himself another message. It read, "Sorry about yelling at you this morning. We both need our time. Your walks and my hikes are important." At 5:42 a.m., James parked at the Alpine Ski Club. He poured gasoline in the rear area of the Outlander and cracked the driver's window. Using Ashley's phone, he sent a message to himself that read, "Ooh, I left the gas cans in my car and it smells. I have to drive with the windows open and it's cold out." James drove the Outlander about a minute down the road and once again used Ashley's phone to send a message. This one read, "Oh, I have vertigo. I'm going to rush home and try to work out in the basement. I feel like blank. I can't hike." With Ashley's body still in the passenger side of the front seat, James maneuvered the Mitsubishi Outlander off the road and down a steep embankment. He put a lighter through the crack in the driver's side window. The vehicle went up in flames. James hiked over a mile to the Craigleith Ski Club parking lot, arriving at 6:01 a.m. He climbed into his mother's Hyundai Kona, which he had staged there the day before. James drove to an elementary school near his house, left the Kona in the parking lot, and made his way home on foot. When he encountered his children, he told them that their mother was on a hike. To get rid of the Kona, James called his mother and told her she could pick it up. At around 9 a.m., James arrived at his part-time job at the place that sold and repaired small engines. At his sentencing on February 10, 2025, the judge gave James credit for pleading guilty, living a pro-social life, and having no criminal record before the murder. James was sentenced to a term of life in prison with the possibility of parole after 20 years. Now moving to my analysis. Here are my thoughts on a few areas that stood out to me in this case. Item number 1. James accepted responsibility for the murder. At his sentencing, he said, quote, "I never thought I saw myself capable of these horrendous actions. I despise my actions and am haunted they continue to hurt the people I love and care for the most. This path is not the one I thought I could ever take, but it is where I shamefully and sadly have put and forced others. This is where I need and deserve to be because of my terrible, awful actions." Despite his expressions of remorse, many people were upset that James could be released in just 20 years. They argued that James may have been permitted to plead guilty to second-degree murder, but clearly he committed first-degree murder. There is quite a bit of evidence supporting this argument. For example, 5 days before the murder, when James was at a social gathering, he asked a physician if a person could kill someone by snapping their neck. James said he was trying to settle a debate about the believability of Steven Seagal movies. Prior to the murder, James made a few curious internet searches like alimony, can you see iPhone history after deleted, and does a road flare completely burn? James had his wife purchase gasoline before the murder, and he staged the Hyundai Kona for his ride home. In my opinion, there is no doubt this murder was premeditated. Item number 2, it appears as though James was trying to execute the perfect murder, but he made many mistakes which led to his arrest. Just to name a few, he made those suspicious internet searches, he asked a physician about snapping a neck, he staged a vehicle to get home, James left his wife's body in the passenger seat, he used his own lighter, he sent text messages from his wife's phone which were comically obvious, as if his wife would narrate every move that she was making leading up to her death. For instance, the message sent from her phone explaining why the window was cracked in the Outlander. And James was captured on various video cameras during his homicidal adventure. James really didn't have any chance of getting away with murder. I find it curious that he claimed to question the believability of Steven Seagal movies. If a person doesn't know if Steven Seagal movies are realistic, then they have already failed as a criminal mastermind. The two were connected by leaving a fire down below, but the similarities end there. Steven Seagal may have been hard to kill, but James was easy to catch. Item number 3, what do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. James and Ashley had high hopes for their marriage. They had a fairy tale wedding, which involved Ashley feeling like a princess. The problem was, day-to-day married life was not as glamorous as they hoped. Ashley became bored and found another source of sex. James was blindsided by the affair and thrown into a tailspin. He never anticipated a failed marriage and was not prepared for the drastic financial consequences, namely child support and alimony. To James, this was completely unacceptable, especially considering how he probably viewed himself as not being at fault. After all, Ashley is the one who decided to have an affair. James viewed homicide as preventing financial liability, but also putting a lot of money in his pocket. For example, Ashley had 2 life insurance policies, one that would pay $1 million to James, and another that would pay her children $250,000. James was desperate. He launched his homicidal campaign in a haphazard manner. He thought he was being clever, but it was obvious the entire time that he was the killer. Now moving to my final thoughts. I think the lesson learned in this case is that nobody can predict what is going to happen in a marriage. It's important before getting married to accept that it may not work out as expected. Many people are shocked when a marriage fails, as if this is something that never happens. Furthermore, they can't believe how expensive it is to pay child support and alimony, even though these payments are pretty common after divorce. I can understand the surprise if marriages only failed 2% of the time, but 50% of marriages will end in divorce. Despite this grim percentage, many people believe that it simply cannot happen to them. Perhaps this is what James experienced. He simply never anticipated a time when Ashley would be his enemy. Those are my thoughts in the case of James and Ashley Schwalm. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. One of the many areas where I've instructed counseling students over the years deals with planning group therapy. So group therapy is when a number of clients come into the same room and talk through various concerns with a counselor, sometimes with two counselors, like there will be two professionals running the group. Either way, planning is really important with group counseling, more so than a lot of other types of counseling activities. One thing I've noticed is that counseling students often run into problems when trying to anticipate everything that can possibly go wrong in group therapy. So they have this idea for a group, people will come together, they'll talk about a specific problem like depression or addiction, and in their minds, in the minds of the counseling students, everything will work out fine. Everybody will be happy with the group, things will go smoothly, people will get better, and the group will terminate after 8 weeks, 12 weeks, 20 weeks, something like that. Rarely do they think about all the problems that can occur, like will two group members start a romantic relationship? Will a group member be disruptive, maybe become physically violent? Will a group member come into a group under the influence of alcohol? You really have to look at everything that can possibly go wrong and build it into your plan. It's important to anticipate trouble. That doesn't mean that somebody running a group counseling session will expect trouble. It just means they have to be prepared. I think that this analogy with group counseling is similar to what happens in marriages. People think about the way marriages are supposed to work out, and they don't anticipate what can go wrong. That's just not something that comes to mind. They just figure that everything is going to work out as expected. The plan is success. There is no other component to the plan. There is no plan based on, well, what if the people don't love each other anymore? What if somebody has an affair? What if somebody gets sick? What if the spark and the magic between the couple just disappears? Nobody ever thinks about that. When something bad does happen, it throws them off their game and they don't know what to do. On rare occasions, this can lead to physical violence, maybe even murder. I think that, as I mentioned earlier in the video, it's important for people to plan for the worst. That doesn't mean that they're being pessimistic. It just means they're being realistic. If 50% of marriages fail, then a person who's getting married needs to think about what that failure could look like, what will happen. Any plan should involve an absence of violence and some considerations about finances. How will the people live if they have to separate their lives? It's a depressing and, I guess in some ways, dark way of thinking about it, like planning for the end of a marriage that you hope doesn't end. But it could save a lot of pain and frustration if things don't work out as expected. Everybody can agree that having an affair is not part of an effective plan, and neither is murder.